Welcome to the American Movie Podcast. This is your host, Matthew Benjamin. What's going on? Okay, right here and now, I'm going to go over the newest documentary on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. It is called Icarus. And if you're not familiar with Icarus, Icarus is Greek mythology, and you can't fly too low and you can't fly too high, or else you'll dissolve in the clouds, or your wings will break in the water. So, okay, anyways, that is the Greek mythology lesson of the day. Icarus is about the Russian doping scandal. And this was actually a really cool documentary because it seemed well thought out, and it progressed into something else halfway through. And what I mean by that is the original idea of this documentary was this guy was going to dope exactly how Lance Armstrong doped. And he was a competitive cyclist at the amateur level, but he was going to compete at one of the most profound and most grueling biking events that the world has ever seen, right next to the Tour de France. So it's like if you were to picture the top 7 days of the Tour de France, the most grueling, the most devastating, the most demanding, the most taxing, you would get these 7 days. And I believe it's called the HOT. It's HOT, H-O-U-T-E race. So they're going like through Switzerland and everywhere. So he does this, and he's not doped yet. And the very first trial he does, he finishes in, I think, 14th. And there's just people that are just so extraordinarily fast, he can't even touch them. So the next following year, he decides to dope. And he reaches out to a former Olympic leader in anabolic testing and performance enhancing drug testing. This guy's retired. I think it's Don Catlin. And Don Catlin is, he's a little weary about it. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. I'll advise you throughout the duration of this testing. I'll do it. And about halfway through, he's like, I can't do it. It's going to threaten my legacy or my reputation. I've worked so hard to get to be a reputable source and a reputable outlet. So I don't want to do it anymore. And the guy, Brian Fogel, the cyclist who wants to take this endeavor of enhancing drugs, he reaches out to Don. He's like, who would do it? So he refers him to Gregory, and it's Gregory, but it's spelled with an I, so I believe it's Gregory, though. And Gregory is the top scientist and the top leader of the most prestigious lab of WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping Association. So they test everybody. They test all of the professional athletes at the elite level, and it's like the most prestigious place in the world. It's world renowned. So he decides to help Brian. And this is where it becomes, it shifts focus. Because right when he's helping Brian, Brian's doing all of this this doping, and he's taking testosterone and stanozol, and he's injecting himself in the butt and all kinds of stuff. And while he's doing that, he's getting prepped for the race. And there starts to be state talks of investigation within the Russian research facility that Gregory works at. So all during the meanwhile, Brian's trying to just become Lance Armstrong on a chemical foundation, I guess you'd say. And then the man who's helping him, the leader pretty much, and the creator of like the most delicate testing in the world, is getting investigated by WADA. So like it shifts over from Brian just becoming this dude and Gregory just helping this dude to Brian has to save Gregory's life, because it's there's allegations that it's a statewide conspiracy that all of this research facility was actually aiding these Russian athletes and giving them clean urine so they'd test negative during Olympic Games. So all the meanwhile, they're trying to investigate this, and Brian's getting his urine analyzed, and then Gregory's like getting his life threatened, and they're all through the hush hush, and then Brian comes to Moscow, and Gregory is, you become really, he's an affable, likable, really nice guy. Like, he's a really nice guy, and he's just thinks what he's doing is right. He's getting sanctioned by this because of his past circumstances, which I don't want to get into. I want you to watch this because it's such a compelling, and you're torn with this guy who is like a family man. You get to see the insight of his life, and him and Brian connect on a real level. And then he's getting sanctioned by the state, and then Brian's trying to save his friend who had just helped him for the past, I think it's a year. So yeah, so he's been trying to help his friend get out of Russia, and all the meanwhile, everything is breaking. Gregory doesn't know if he's going to be murdered or not. So it's just like this the most extraordinary story by happenstance halfway through a documentary I had ever seen. So yeah, like random. It is the most random and most serendipitous documentary that just progressed to be this totally different thing. So if you're not aware of the Russian doping conspiracy, since 1968, there's been proof. Pretty much WADA said it. There's conclusive evidence right now that the Russians had been doping for around 50 years, and that it's been state-funded, state allocated funds were trying to get actually all of these Russian people clean, or to the perception of clean. So Gregory goes in like the most deep analysis and step-by-step breakdown on how he actually did this. And it is the most crazy thing that they got away with this, because WADA went to lengths that this would not be compromised whatsoever. So they got special bottles that were designed in Switzerland that you actually have to break glass, and they can only be opened once and put on once, and then you have to actually break the seal. And it's it's the most technologically advanced urine distributor in the world. Like, it's this big, huge bottle, and they have to actually break it. So it's like, if they can get past that, and it was state sanctioned, and there was this huge cover up by the state, then the entire games are compromised. And this was really crucial on what Gregory had to do, because he was torn, because he could break WADA and he could break Russia at the exact same time. And he was trying to figure out, what do I do? What can I do? I have to think about me. I have to think about my family. I have to think about if I'm going to be able to be alive tomorrow. So it was just the most crazy documentary I'd seen in a really long time. It's probably the best one on Netflix that I've seen in a very long time. And this is a Netflix original too. And it's 2 hours. It's a 2-hour roller coaster ride of you're just meeting Brian, and Brian's meeting Gregory, and they're just kind of going through this track of this race, and then it shifts, and it's so crazy. So I highly, highly recommend this, man. It is so cool because it breaks down pretty much how doping has been just part of sports for the duration of all of sport. People have always been cheating. Don Catlin said, everybody's doping. Like, he's just like, and Gregory assessed how many gold medals within each Olympic game were tainted, that were received by Russia. Like, it's like usually 50%. So it's just this bonkers number that you can't even imagine how everything has to consecutively go right for Russia and everything. And it was just kept a secret for so long. And of course, Russia denies it and everything. And it's just that alone is just one of the craziest things I've seen in a long, long time. So I highly, highly recommend this. It is so good. It's beautifully shot too, and it's tied along with an actual narrative. And I don't even know how they got that. It's a really creative narrative within it too, because they tie it with a really notable story of 1984 by Orwell. And yeah, so it was just a really, really fascinating just documentary itself as a creation, and then the story is just super compelling too. So I highly, highly, highly recommend this, man. You got to check it out. So yeah, that is definitely, it's streaming on Netflix right now. It's one of the coolest documentaries I've ever seen. So thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to subscribe and share with your friends if you want. Let me know if you're going to watch this in the comment section below, and feel free to let me know what you thought about it. So thank you so much again for watching. This has been Matthew Benjamin with the American Movie Podcast. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, 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 bye.